Okay, we're going to try him out. This console back up in there. And let's take note. These are just some foam, plastic, spongy stuff they put in with your computer parts you get from the store. It's just, it's really dense. You know, you can't compress it very much. And this is going to be needed to act as a spacer right around here. And what that'll do is it'll keep this protrusion that was used for the shorter console from interfering, just tightening down this new base up in here. Otherwise, there's a possibility that the plastic would bend right in here and you'd end up cracking it, because we're going to be putting screws here and here, and that's going to be on screws to hold the base up into here. So I'm going to try to do this with one hand, see what happens here. Okay. You can see we got the sun visor brackets just taken out so that the headliner will drop down a little bit. Okay, so we're going to slide the bracket up underneath. It's underneath the thing. And let's see if we can get that right there. Okay, let me just slide a thing in. Get this idea where we're at. Okay, now on to the important stuff. Let's see, get this cable out of the way. We're just dry fitting it right now. So. Okay, now here's where those spacers are going to end up going. Right up in between here. And they're going to sit in there like that. See if I can get my camera over here. Alright, so you can see these things sitting up in here. And basically what they're doing is they're holding them up. So then we put the screws through here and here. It's not going to bend it because of this little bump out right here. And you can use anything in there. If you've got rubber grommets, or you can probably stack up some washers, just about anything. Just want something in there to keep this thing from flexing up and bending and possibly cracking. Okay? So that's going to be the next step. If you're going to be hooking up the ambient air temperature sensor, take note that the green wire here with the black trace on it, it's kind of hard to see, but it's in there. That's the wire for the temperature sensor. And this second black wire here is the ground for it. Now, what I did was I used my own meter and I traced it from here. Okay, then you got to go down, right corner down here. Got my flashlight shining up in there, if it helps in here. But anyhow, there's a block up in there where these wires connect to the firewall, and then they go through to the other side of the firewall. So let's go over to the other side of the firewall. Okay, we're in the engine compartment, and we're looking for the cable from the firewall for the ambient air temperature sensor. And I'll show a light on, see if this helps any. Okay. Down there is where that wire comes through, along with all the other ones. Great big ass cable right there. I split the cable apart too so I could find the wire to make sure it was going that far. And yeah, sure enough it was. And it goes underneath the washer tank. It's kind of hard to see. down there. There. It comes back out of the washer tank. So the light, it's really hard to see it down there. Okay. From there, that wire comes out of the bundle to this connector right here. Now when you look at it, you're going to go, oh, I thought I was only going to look for 2 wires, but actually there's going to be 4 wires on this thing. Okay. I've already taken it apart. I'm going to show you how I got to that point. But you can see this wire that's loose right here. Right there. That's the green wire. That's the sensor wire. There's a black wire that's still connected that I'm going to take out. And that's the other ground wire. Now, these other 2 wires go to, so the connector that's comes out of the cable up here. Turn this light off. And here's the other end of that connector right here. And you can notice there's 2 plugs right here. So I can show you these. Okay. Here's the other end of that connector. Now, you can see what they've done is, instead of running wires out through here, they just plugged it up, and that's all these are, just some rubber plugs they stuck in here, just to keep the water out. So if you can find the connector, you can make your own. I'm just going to hardwire right into, solder right into that wire down there that we just showed you was a sense wire we took off. But anyway, that's real important. If you're looking for a connector that's only got 2 wires, you're not going to find it. Well, you may find it, but on mine, I was looking for it. I never found it. Ended up tracing it to here where it dead ended. So that's where we're at with that. So what we're going to do is basically pull these wires out. And I've got this one out down here. So you can take these out really easy. There's no special trick to it. Got these pliers. Connectors are flat in there. So you just stick your wire on it. Push. Clamp on it. And then push it out. And then eventually, and that's what you got. It's just a little rubber seal right there. This rubber washes and pops right out. Just pop it back in. Grab from this side, pull it tight. Okay. That's where we're at there. So next, we need to pull the wires out and throw the guy down here. Solder him. So to make it easier to get access to this thing, you want to take this crossbar out that's holding this fuse block down. There's a bolt there that's got to come out. There's 2 bolts there. That's what we're taking care of. Just slide that bar out of there. And that'll give you enough room to get in here and grab this stuff. Move it around if you need to. See, this is the bottom of the fuse box. You can see where all the wires go in. This is the best way to get access originally to this cable, because this thing is going to be buried down along the side, right here, right down in here. It's a tight fit, so it's just easier, at least for me, to take that bar out, move this fuse box out of the way. That way you get access to this thing easier. Okay, you can see I've removed the 2 wires, the ground wire, blocking here, and this green sensor wire, the black stripe. And we'll just leave this other guy alone. See, we're just going to plug him back in to the old guy. And what we're going to do on these is we're going to go ahead and cut these tips off. because I don't have a connector for my temperature sensor, and hopefully these might work. So we want to cut them off and leave a little bit of a pigtail on them so that we can solder them onto another wire if we need to. Went ahead and snipped the wires off, left a little pigtail on them, just in case we want to use these for something else, like the sensor itself. Okay, and there's our two wires. The green one with the black stripe there going to the green wire, and the ground black wire going to the black wire. And then of course the other two wires go to the connector. And they'll get plugged back into this guy here. So now, of course, you're going to need your soldering iron. This is solder. And that's going to be next. Okay, getting ready to solder these two wires. I'm going to take a note that there's, I'm going to make sure you put some heat shrink tubing on there. If not, you can just put some tape over it. There's not a whole lot of room down in here. And it's kind of hard to hold the camera and do it at the same time, but basically you'll be soldering that wire and we're going to solder that wire. So we'll do that next. Okay, the wires are soldered together. So it's just a matter now of just kind of flatten the lead out a little bit. And we'll just slide this heat shrink over the top of that. Okay, we've got the heat shrink slid over the wires here. Actually, use tape too if you want. And I'm just going to heat it up, get the shrink. There you go. That's really all it needs, you know. Get the other wire out here and get that one done. See, there's not a whole lot of room there to do anything. Let's see if we can do this one here. There we go. You can try and do this with the soldering iron if that's what you're using. Sometimes the heat from the soldering iron is enough to melt this stuff, but sometimes you just end up making a mess out of things. So there we go. All set.